Andrew Garfield stars as Jonathan Larson in Tick, Tick, Boom and as Jim Bakker in The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I'm David Buchanan with Gold Derby, joined by Denton Davidson of Gold Derby. Andrew, it's such a pleasure to talk to you today. I wanted to start with Tick, Tick, Boom and your experience on stage, because Tick, Tick, Boom is started as a stage musical and is all about the theater, obviously, as Jonathan Larson was a composer. So I was wondering how your experience on stage in both Death of a Salesman and Angels in America really helped you kind of understand the world that Jonathan Larson worked in and lived in, and helped you approach performing his work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a theatre actor first and foremost. When I studied in drama school in London at the Central School of Speech and Drama, and graduated when I was 20, and then I did theatre for 3 years in London and Manchester and around the UK. And I fell in love with theatre and drama school, and it kind of became, and even before that in high school, like it became my second home, maybe my first home, maybe my predominant home actually. And I felt most myself there. I felt most allowed to be my whole entire. I think that's what most people who engage in the theatre feel. They suddenly feel like, oh, I'm not as alone as I thought I was. It's a real kind of community that you get jumped into. So, and then of course, having started to do films, and then kept my theatre work going and my theatre kind of muscles moving with Death of a Salesman and Angels in America, arguably two of the masterworks of the last century in terms of theatre. It when I was introduced to John Larson and his work through Lin, and him asking me to come onto this project, it was like, again, just kind of being introduced to an old brother that I didn't know existed. I felt so akin to him, even though I'm not a writer myself, or let alone a musical theater writer. I felt like he already was alive in me somehow. And there wasn't much interpretation I needed to do. It was more about just allowing the John in me to emerge and to come through. And there was another element that was interesting, which is a kind of a more kind of spiritual element of the energy of John, and the kind of the essence of John, and his spirit, that obviously, so when someone has that much energy and inspiration and passion and impact on the world, and they die at a young age, at the age of 35, as in terms of the specifics of Jonathan's death. I think they leave. I remember when Heath Ledger passed away, he was in his late 20s, and we were doing the Terry Gilliam film together, and it's just a very impactful thing when such a great artist leaves us at the height of their powers. And that's the same with John. But the personal experience I had with losing Heath was, there's this excess amount of energy that gets left behind, and a kind of because there was so much more to do, there was so much more to make, there was so many more performances, he was going to direct, he was producing music, he was starting a record label. There was all of this creativity that was on the verge of arriving. And I think the same thing with John. Like, so for me it was, and for Lin, it was like, how do we harness the energy of John and let it move through our set, let it be like, cut a hole in the ceiling of every set that we were on, and allow John to be that magical element that was moving through all of us, and most particularly myself. How do I open myself up so that actually, say a prayer to John every morning and say, follow your impulses, and I will be your vessel. Like, let me help. Let me just serve you in how you want to live again while the cameras are rolling. And it was a really kind of beautiful experience in that way. And the fact that we had Julie Larson, John's sister, there with us as a producer, and actually at the monitors a lot of the time, was another kind of tremendous inspiration.
And some of the scenes are direct recreations of footage of Jonathan, like the performance of Tick Tick Boom at the New York Theater Workshop. Where do you begin interpreting that material, and how do you capture the spirit and essence of Jonathan as a performer, as well as the physicality he gave with each performance?
Yeah, I mean, we have we have this amazing footage of John doing Boho Days, which was the original title of Tick Tick Boom, which went through lots of different permutations. And that was really key for me, and I would just kind of immerse myself in that footage. And of course, I would pick up specific physicality things that I thought were kind of hooks and keys, but also, again, as you say, a kind of energy and a kind of essence that you're looking to embody, capture, let move through you. And what was so clear to me is that he was singing and playing for his life and for the lives of everyone around him, and that I saw what he was doing in Tick Tick Boom as this very anti-commercial, after the failure of Superbia, it was as if he had to reaffirm his own, it was all that song Why. Like Tick Tick Boom feels like he's in that song. He's trying to figure out why he would carry on, how he would carry on, and if it's worth him carrying on, doing what he's doing. And it all felt like a ritual, like a very personal, sacred ritual of, no matter if I'm playing to 5,000 people or 15 of my closest friends, this is what I have to do, and I am going to spend my time this way. So I think that's what Tick Tick Boom and Boho Days was. It was this kind of like this cathartic kind of practice, ritualistic thing where he was going, this isn't for anyone but me, my friends, the people that we've lost, the people that we're losing, the people that are sick and lonely, and for artists that have been told no over and over and over and over again. And this is my attempt to respond to the no, to the rejection, to the failure. This is my, if any producers want to come into that door and watch this show, you are family. I'm not playing for the culture. I'm not playing for the industry. I'm not playing to get this on Broadway. I'm playing it because I just have to play it. And I think that's what he had to do for himself and for, his own giftedness and for his community, especially those that were being affected by AIDS. So I feel like it became this kind of ritual, and that was very, very important for me to kind of capture in his performance. And it was, fighting, singing, playing for his life and for the lives of everyone around him, literally in terms of his friends with HIV, but also more metaphorically and spiritually in terms of he was fighting for the soul of the artist to not be defeated by commercial interests or material interests, or to be commodified. So I think it was a real kind of a kind of attempt to get underneath all of his own egoic desires in a way, to let his ego kind of break publicly so that he could get down into his real creativity, the soul of his creativity, writing about what he knows, which obviously it's the bridge that leads to his opus, his ultimate last piece, which was Rent. And without this very sacred ritual, this very personal ritual of Tick Tick Boom, we wouldn't have Rent.
Yeah, your answer is really capturing so much of the emotional intensity that the film captures in just, I think it's about a week of time that the film chronicles in Jonathan's life. How did you, with Lin Manuel Miranda, who directed the piece, how did you both kind of tackle the emotional intensity of the piece, and also as an actor, just kind of come to set prepared and to pace yourself through some really big moments in Jonathan's life and just prepare yourself to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny, a lot of things that led to us being able to just be very, very present on set and be overtaken, basically. Allow the muses and whatever creativity wanted to happen that day to happen. And I think, you know, obviously Lin has been preparing for this since he saw Tick Tick Boom and had his own personal kind of revelatory freak out, realizing what he had to do with his life, and walking out of a downtown theater after seeing a production of Tick Tick, and, you know, kind of, you know, being totally disturbed by it and realizing that his life was over because he had to devote it to writing the next great American musical, which he did. And so obviously he's been prepping for this for a long time. And then in terms of a kind of a nearer past, you know, he set up a situation where we were rehearsing it like a play. And I had a year since finishing Angels in America, at least a year, over a year and a half, to immerse myself in John and his life, his music, his friendships, his romances, and to really just kind of dip myself into that stew. And to the point where I think, again, we were able to wake up every morning and be haunted by John. Like that was always the North Star. I remember saying to Lin after I saw the first cut, I was so moved by it, and I just said, thank you for honoring John in this way, and for honoring the work of the actors, because, you know, he's such a, he loves everyone, he loves his actors, he took care of the actors in the edit so much. And I said, thank you. And he said, well, no offense, I'm glad you feel good, but no offense, but I had bigger fish to fry. I didn't want to be haunted by the ghost of Jonathan Larson for the rest of my life. And that really was the guiding light of every morning, of every day. And it's exhausting. Like, it is exhausting. Like, Jonathan is exhausting. You know, you're exhausted watching him spin through this film, like bursting at the seams, like his head bursting, his heart bursting. And, you know, there was a line in the original Tick Tick Boom, which they had to cut after he passed away because it felt insensitive at that time. And the line was, sometimes I feel like my heart is going to explode. And that's very, very symbolically perfect in terms of who John seemed to be. And ultimately, his heart did explode. Like, he died of he died of an aortic aneurysm. So there was some weird, strange knowing that he had about the shortness of his life. And maybe in an unconscious way, I would say, I find that very, very interesting. So yeah, I mean, those were the things that we were really being driven by, and we kind of let John run amok. We let him off the leash, and he kind of told us how to do it. And we kind of followed. That was kind of it.
And an emotional climax of the movie is Why, performed at the Delacorte Theater. Could you talk about the emotional journey of that song and your own experience playing it to the 1,800 empty seats at the Delacorte during the pandemic while live theater was completely shut down?
Well, you know, we actually shot that before. We shot that at the end of the first week of shooting, which was pre-pandemic. And that was kind of interesting. The stuff that we shot the rest post-pandemic, including the New York Theater Workshop stuff. So playing Tick Tick Boom, the one-man show of Tick Tick Boom in the New York Theater Workshop to a very small audience of extras and crew was very, very profound while all the theater was shut down. But Why, that song Why in the Delacorte in the middle of the night was definitely one of the more profound experiences I've had on any set. Because the song, the monologue, the song, whatever you want to call it, the moment, the kind of, again, a ritual, it's the most profound journey one can go on in the space of 4 minutes, from facing death and choosing life, basically. That's how I interpreted it, in the sense of, you know, it's hard to talk about because it's so mysterious, because what John is going through is meeting an impossible moment that he doesn't want to meet. And only by diving down into the wound of that moment, of the potentiality of losing, you know, arguably one of the closest person, the person he loves the most in his life, one of them anyway, his best friend Michael, by facing that reality, which is the reality he's been running from all the way through the story up until now. Of course, he has to face it at the piano. The piano is what is the instrument that enables him to travel down into the depths of himself. And what he finds there is images. It's mysterious what happens, and it's all spontaneous. He's singing the images as they come to him. It's happening to him. The song is happening to him. So that's obviously very hard to play. A song that is ostensibly being improvised spontaneously and found in the moment in order to move through his darkest night of the soul, to come through, and he doesn't know where it's leading at any given moment. So to play that, of course, is a fascinating challenge. But yeah, you kind of stick with the images and you allow the images to take you where they want to take you. You know, when I was 9, Michael and I, we entered a talent show at the YMCA, and we, you know, he couldn't sit for whatever reason. This image is coming, and I'm going to sing about it, and I'm going to remember it. And it's I don't know why this image is coming. Why is this image coming? Oh, that was the moment where I realized like what I wanted to do with my life. That was the moment where I understood how great life could feel. Oh, and I remember making a promise to myself that this is how I was going to spend my time. How much time does my friend have? How much time do I have? And then another image comes, and it's, oh my God, wait. And then this was the other most important part of our relationship when we did West Side Story in high school. I guess this is coming because, why is this coming? I made a vow and I carried on the vow, and now I'm wondering, am I able to, is it worth me carrying on the thing that I thought I was meant to do, in light of the fact that, you know, is it the most important thing for me to be doing while my friend is dying and all of my friends are dying and I'm just singing songs? I'm sat at a piano singing songs, and that brings me to this moment. And where are we now? And it's, oh, I'm still doing what I'm doing, but my friend is making his money elsewhere. And in the process of that final kind of that over and over and over and over and over, and Lin and Alex Lacamoire added in extra overs and overs and overs and overs for that moment, for some mysterious ritualistic reason, which leads to, you know, that finishing the hat thing of the Sondheim thing, which is, and I wake up after sitting at the piano at 9 a.m. I wake up after 1,000 overs and overs and overs, and it's 5 o'clock and I have to go to the diner. And then I'm flooded with, oh, this is the only way I can spend my time. And I think in that moment, he starts to connect. I don't have a choice about how I spend my time. And actually, how I spend my time has to be connected to my friend. Like, whatever I create at the piano, whatever I create has to be about healing his heart, healing his woundedness, healing the woundedness of my community. And I think in that moment, it's the beginning of Rent. It's the beginning of Tick, Tick, Boom. It's the beginning of Rent. And it's the beginning of him using his giftedness to heal his people, to heal himself. And I think he realizes in that moment, oh, I'm definitely got to do what I've got to do, but I've actually got to do it even more fuller to the hilt. And I don't have to, it's not about, you know, superbia and trying to like critique society in a way that is kind of didactic. It's actually about the heart. It's actually about the soul. And it's actually about saving lives through art and really addressing the agony that my friend is in through my art. And it's a beautiful place that he gets to, that I got to find my way. And it was the second take and we all felt it. And we sang the song live 3 times on 3 close-ups, and the second, and we started with I said to Lin, I was like, start with the close-up, because, you know, who knows what's going to happen, who knows where this is going to go, and it needs to feel alive, and I don't know where this is going to go. And obviously the first take was the first pancake, and it was a bit of a mess, and it wasn't perfect. And the second take wasn't perfect, but it was definitely, it got to the depths of that place, and the journey felt very, very clear. And that's what he ultimately used in the film. And it felt like, oh, thank God, like we have something sacred here, and we have something that Jonathan would feel good about. And Julie was there, and she was feeling really good about it and really moved by it. And anyway, it's a long answer, but it's an impossible question to answer in a short manner. So, but no, I love that song, and I'm so glad that we got to do it live, and I'm so glad that we got to do it in that sacred way. And they had the recording clean enough to use, so that was really, really cool.
Andrew, I want to congratulate you not just on Tick, Tick, Boom, but also your physically transformative performance in The Eyes of Tammy Faye as Jim Bakker. Congrats on both roles, and thanks so much for talking to Denton and I in Gold Derby.
Thank you, guys.